Chapter 3 Red Vines. "This is the crew lounge," Gabe explains, as he and the Peacekeepers enter from the long passage that connects the forward section of the ship to the larger main body. The troopers make a circuit through the lounge, lifting cushions, opening cupboards. One turns to Gabe. "This looks fine. We'll move to the cargo hold now." Gabe inclines his head toward the hatch. "That way." "We're familiar with the layout." As a unit, the three troopers move on. Gabe follows. As he enters the cargo hold, the three troopers are descending the stairwell to the lower level, one holding a handheld scanner. "What's in the crates?" he asks, pointing to the few crates left in the largely empty space. Opposite them is the large sparring and workout area Maxim and Zephyr make use of. "One moment while I check the manifests." Gabe accesses the ship's computer and searches the logs. The Ghost recently made a delivery on Fury, so the hold is empty of paid cargo. He gestures toward a large crate in the corner of the hold. "That one is listed as captain's stuff, don't touch." He gestures to a smaller crate. "That one is self-sealing stem bolts." One of the troopers taps the display on the crate. "Confirmed." Another is standing next to the larger crate. "We should look inside this one." Gabe nods. "Very well." He places his hand on the control panel, accessing the crate's locking mechanism and hacking it. The lid pops open with a hiss. "What is all that drin?" the trooper asks, looking inside the crate. Gabe leans over the top of the crate, peering inside. "I understand they are called red vines." "What are they?" Another trooper comes over and looks inside. He lifts a round container up, turning it over. It is full of 6-inch-long red tubes. "They are a snack food," Gabe replies. "Good?" one of the Peacekeepers asks. "The captain thinks so." Gabe reaches over and plucks the container from the trooper's hand, placing it back in the crate. "I believe the contents of this crate are all items from the captain's homeworld." He reaches over to replace the lid. The third trooper, who has until now remained silent, is in the opposite corner of the hold. "I'm getting a weird reading over here." Gabe and the other two Peacekeepers join him. "So, what's over here?" one asks. Gabe shrugs and looks around. This movement is entirely for show. His sensors have already swept the entire cargo hold. "I do not see anything." He looks at the floor. "I have access to the ship's computer. There is nothing here." He turns back to the first trooper. "What is it you detect?" The trooper turns his scanner around so that Gabe and his colleagues can see the screen. "Not real sure. The readers are weird." "I can ask the captain, if you'd like. However, according to the ship's internal sensors, what you are likely detecting are several power conduits that power the sublight engines. One appears to have a phase imbalance." Gabe gestures to the deck plating to his left. "It runs through here." One of the troopers looks at their own scanner, then to Gabe. "That's probably it. Let's move on to engineering." Gabe tilts his head. "Please follow me. I think you will find the engineering space impressive." "You're a Peacekeeper engineering bot, so I'd expect nothing less," the third trooper says. Gabe grimaces, but says nothing, closing the hatch to the cargo hold behind him. Better homes and living quarters. "This is your room?" Centurion Turin asks as her team enters Will's quarters. Pushing past them, Will kicks a grum bottle quickly under the bed. "What do you mean?" He glances around, then rushes over to push a magazine under a datapad. "It's a glabstai," Turin mutters, as she walks over to the closet to poke at a shirt. Will looks at Zephyr. "What's a glab?" Trying to stifle a laugh, Zephyr replies, "You know, 6 legs, foul-smelling, 3 tails." Will snaps his fingers. "That's what those things are called, I'll be," remembering a job he did for Xarrix some time ago, transporting the annoying and disgusting creatures. Turning to Turin, he adds, "Offense taken. Those things are disgusting. I had a hold full of them once. So gross." Turin says nothing, instead focusing on the small closet in the corner. One Peacekeeper lifts Will's mattress. "Nothing." Zephyr leans into Will and whispers, "Is there anything? Anywhere we should know about? You know, before they find it." Will shrugs. "Nope. Why do you ask?" Zephyr shrugs. "Because you're you." Will raises his voice. "You guys done in here? It's not that big of a space." Turin looks around one last time, then motions for her troopers to follow her out of the room. "Marcia and Leroy's room is across the hall," Will says. "I'll show you the way." Maxim and Bennie are watching the two inspection teams on the main display. Maxim looks over at Bennie. "You know, I don't remember these being so invasive." On the screen, Will, Zephyr, and their group of peacekeepers are in the room he shares with Zephyr, looking through their closet. Bennie tuts. I've seen peacekeepers rip panels off the walls if they think it's worth their time." "Really?" Maxim asks. "Sure, you and Zephyr were on some of these inspections, right? You didn't do this kind of stuff?" Bennie looks doubtful. "No, the ship they assigned me to was in the Gypsal system. We'd board a freighter, look around for anything out of place, and then leave. It usually took longer to board the ships than it did to search them." "Ah, well," Bennie says, "welcome to a system that isn't at the ass end of nowhere. Bray is one of the top 20 most prosperous systems in the GC. Smuggling is a big problem that my people pay yours to keep under control." Maxim glowers at the hacker, then turns back to the main display, grumbling under his breath. "My people." "What's that?" Bennie asks. "Nothing." Maxim points to the screen. "Let's see what they find in your room." Bennie chuckles. "As if I'd hide my contraband in my quarters." "What?" "What is that smell?" Turin asks, entering Bennie's quarters. "This is Tyrion's room," Zephyr remarks. "Who could say?" Turin turns to Will. "Captain, I take it back. Your quarters are not the most disgusting I've ever seen." Will smiles. "Thank you, I think." Zephyr leans in again. "These are peacekeepers. You saw my room. Theirs are even more orderly." Will shrugs. "That makes sense. NASA was always kinda anal about the crew bunks back at the launch complex." He looks over at one of the troopers as they lift something out of the closet, holding it like it might bite them. Will moves over. "Damn it, Bennert, Tarion!" He snatches the object from the trooper. "That's mine." The trooper turns a shiny, opaque faceplate to Will. "And what is it?" "Oh, it's a stuffed animal." "Like a trophy?" one of the other troopers asks, coming over to look. "No, nothing like that. It's a misleading name. It's a toy, okay?" He holds it up for everyone to see. "His name is Alf. My mom gave him to me." "I forgot I had that. Oops," Bennie says, watching the feed on the main display. Maxim looks over again. "Do you just come and go in his quarters as you please?" He pauses, then adds, "Also, wait. How do you have access to the security feeds in our quarters?" Good journeys. Once all 6 peacekeepers are back at the airlock, their tour complete, the lead peacekeeper turns to Will. "Thank you, Captain. Sorry to have taken so much time, but your ship isn't on record as having entered the Bray sector before, so we had to be thorough." Will nods. "No problem, Centurion Turin. It was our pleasure." He gestures towards the airlock. "Well, hurry along now, we'd like to get underway." The Centurion turns to Zephyr. "Good journeys," she says, inclining her head. "And to you," Zephyr replies, matching the head movement of the other woman. With that, the peacekeepers file out the airlock, the inner door closing after the last one crosses the threshold. Will reaches over and presses his palm to the control panel, closing the outer airlock door. Leaning against the corridor next to the now closing airlock, he exhales loudly. "This is why I avoid main systems." Over the speaker in the ceiling, Maxim announces, "Peacekeeper's ship is moving off. They have given us clearance to continue on to Bray." Will turns his head to the ceiling. "Roger that, Max. Be right there." Zephyr chuckles. "Why do you do that?" Do what? She mimes Will's previous motion. Look up at the ceiling when you speak to someone over the ship's comms, or to the computer for that matter. I do that all the time? Zephyr nods. All the time. Huh. I don't know, Will thinks. Must be something I just picked up. It looks cool though, right? Zephyr just shakes her head as she turns and heads for the bridge hatch around the corner. Will hurries after her. As the two enter the bridge, he asks, What's with the good journeys thing anyway? Maxim stands up from the command chair and returns to his own station. It's a traditional Pelorian farewell. Turin said it? He looks at Zephyr, who nods. Interesting. Why is that interesting? Bennie asks. If it's traditional, wouldn't it have been weird if she hadn't said it? It's typically reserved for those in active service to the GC, Zephyr answers. It's not a rule or anything, though. She may have just been being polite. Will drops into his seat and brings the flight controls back online. Well, at least it's over. Now let's get a move on. He turns to Zephyr as she's taking her own seat. How long to Bray? 3 talks. I'm sending you the flight details. Ship traffic is tightly controlled, both coming and going. They keep speeds to a minimum and maintain a narrow approach corridor. Will nods, pulling the system chart up on the main display. Makes sense. Looks like, what, 200 ships in sensor range? 229, Zephyr replies. Will lets out a low whistle. Busy place. I'll see if I can get us a bump up in the landing queue, Bennie offers. That'd be nice, Will says. Oh, by the way, you and me, we're gonna have a little talk about my personal space. He pulls the stuffed animal out from inside his jacket. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Bennie waves both hands in front of him. Not even close to good enough. First, my video files, then my snacks. Now my stuff? Do I even want to know what you were doing with it? Bennie makes a face. Gross! Nothing. I thought it might do something or have a purpose, but then I realized it didn't and just forgot to put it back. I'm sorry. I doubt that very much, Maxim mutters under his breath.